They said love holds a family together. Hazel learned love can also hold a balance sheet. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when her phone lit the kitchen like a siren. The pot roast was cooling on the stove, emails still open on her laptop from Fairhaven Logistics, freight delays out of Newark, a driver named Lawson stuck on I-84, a vendor asking for 30 more days. Hazel's life ran on timetables and grace periods. Family didn't. The message came from her sister Madison, without a hello. "I'm done with my job. You'll cover us while I reset." No please, no plan, just the certainty of someone who'd been funded for so long she mistook it for love. Hazel stared at the screen, thumb hovering. The kitchen clock ticked too loud. Streetlights bled through the blinds. Somewhere down the hall, the radiator hissed like it was tired of listening. In the living room, a photo of her parents at the beach leaned against a stack of mail. She'd paid for that trip in July. $2,940 split across 2 cards and one quiet promise to herself that she'd refill her savings next month. 100 old reflexes lined up. "Smooth this over. Send something, keep the peace." Another voice rose up instead. Dylan's, low and steady from a night they'd eaten takeout at her tiny table. "You don't have to pay rent on belonging." She had laughed then. She wasn't laughing now. Hazel typed 4 words she had never put in a family thread. "That's not on me." She didn't hit send right away. She looked at the refrigerator, magnet-clipped receipts from a year of little favors that never shrank. Phone plan $286, car insurance $214, utilities $179, urgent care copay $85, vet emergency $603. Each number was a memory she hadn't had time to feel. She hit send. The blue bubble slid across the glass. The room didn't shake. The sky outside didn't split. But inside her chest, a rope that had been pulled for 15 years loosened by a single knot. 6:49 p.m. Another message, this time from Mom. "If you won't help your sister, don't bother coming to Thanksgiving." Once those words would have broken her in half. The holiday wasn't food, it was proof. "Sit in this picture. Smile like you're lucky. Pay what it takes to keep the picture alive." Tonight the sentence felt like a bill sent to the wrong address. Hazel set the phone face down and made herself breathe. The apartment hummed, old building noises and the faint thud-thud from a neighbor's treadmill. She slid into the chair at her table and opened a second tab on her laptop. The document had waited there for months like a dare. Offer letter, Dublin operations lead. 6 months housing included, $87,000 annualized. Start date the first Monday of next month. Every time she'd almost signed, she'd pictured Liv's small, disappointed smile. Charles' sigh. Madison's next emergency. She scrolled to the bottom, clicked sign. The signature traced itself in digital ink. Document completed blinked, small and neat, as if she'd only confirmed a delivery window. Her hands shook anyway. She poured herself water, sipped, and didn't look at the phone when it buzzed again. Instead, she opened the spreadsheet she never let anyone see. At the top, family expenses, running ledger. The numbers stair-stepped down the page in gray rows. She whispered each line into the room like she was proving a case to the only person who'd ever believe her. Phone, insurance, rent deposit, dentist, vet, electric, groceries the week you said your card got flagged, the flight you forgot to pay back, the spa retreat labeled healing. The buzzer rattled the front door at 7:22 p.m. Hazel flinched, then watched the doorknob like it might turn. It didn't. Her phone lit again. A family group text, started by Charles. "Family meeting. Tonight. 8 sharp. Be here." Hazel typed slow, each letter chosen like a step onto a new floor. "I won't be there." Bubbles appeared, a little parade of outrage marching toward her. She turned off notifications and let the apartment be quiet on purpose. The kettle clicked, then began to whisper. She watched steam curl against the cabinet and thought of how many times she'd paid for peace like it was a product with a barcode. Her eyes slid to the TV muted footage of a Boston Harbor forecast, gray water under gray clouds. She pictured Dublin's canal photos from the onboarding packet, the way the recruiter Cairo had written, "You'll walk to work. It's a city made for it." Hazel had never lived anywhere she could walk to a new version of herself. The thought pressed behind her eyes, until she had to blink hard to keep it from spilling out. At 7:59 p.m., the phone chimed again, a voicemail from Aunt Rose. "Family gives and receives, honey. Don't let the devil harden your heart." Hazel deleted it without listening to the end. Her heart didn't feel hard. It felt tender in the way skin does under a bandage, new and thin, able to breathe again. She opened a blank document and wrote 2 words at the top in bold. Exit plan. Below she listed steps like she was writing a standard operating procedure for her own freedom. Remove myself from the family phone plan tonight. Unlink car insurance by Friday. Cancel utilities I don't use, effective immediately. Close shared credit lines. Keep PDFs of confirmations, new checking, new savings, new pins. Keep every receipt. Keep every date. Keep my peace. Her fingers hovered over the first task. She logged into the phone carrier, navigated to manage lines, and exhaled longer than she meant to. Remove user. A dialog box asked if she was sure. For the first time in a long time, she was click. 1 line gone. Her rib cage loosened like someone had unlaced it. She moved to the insurance portal. Unlink. A warning blinked. Coverage will end at midnight. Hazel nodded to no one. Midnight sounded fair. The intercom crackled at 8:11 p.m., followed by the blunt knock of a hand that expected obedience. Open up, a man's voice said, low through the speaker. Charles. Hazel walked to the door but didn't touch the lock. Not tonight, she said. The words surprised her with how steady they came. There's a way we do things, he replied. Hazel wed, she said. Silence, then footsteps retreating. She waited, counted to 30, then returned to the table. The kettle had cooled. She turned the knob and lit the burner again. The blue ring flaring like a promise kept. Her phone buzzed on the table, face down. She flipped it over and read the newest message from Mom. Help your sister or stay away from this family. Hazel looked at the sentence until the screen dimmed. She tapped it awake and wrote back 1 line. I love you. I'm still not your bank. She set the phone aside, opened the Dublin welcome packet, and traced the walking route to the office with her finger. Bridge, cafe, row of brick buildings, a turn by the canal. For years she had mistaken being needed for being loved. Tonight she felt the difference like a hand lifting from her chest. She closed her eyes and spoke the title of the story she was finally willing to live out loud, to the room, to herself. Loved like family, used like a bank. The words didn't bruise when she said them. They named a thing true enough to carry. Outside, traffic thinned. Inside, Hazel folded the signed offer into a folder with her passport and slid it into her bag. The clock clicked to 8:29 p.m. A number with no history attached to anyone else's emergency. She poured tea, wrapped both hands around the mug, and let the heat hold her steady. Somewhere in the building, a dog barked once and settled. Hazel did the same. Tomorrow would bring the backlash. Tonight belonged to the first yes she'd given herself in 15 years. By morning the text had spread through her family like bad news. Hazel's phone lit up before sunrise. Missed calls, long messages, guilt dressed as concern. Her mother wrote first, "You're just tired, sweetheart. You don't mean this." Her father followed, "Be at the house tonight. We'll settle this like adults." Madison's was the shortest. "Wow, you've really changed." Hazel made coffee and left every message unread. At work she caught her reflection in the glass wall outside the conference room. She didn't look different, but something in her eyes was new. Distance, maybe. The kind people earn only after paying for everyone else's comfort too long. By lunchtime, her mother's third message came through. Family dinner tonight, no excuses. Hazel almost ignored it, until she noticed Dylan's text slide in beneath it.
Troll?
See what they want, but don't go to lose yourself. So she went. The drive back to her parents' house felt strange, too familiar, too heavy. The porch light was already on when she pulled up. Inside, the table was set for 6. Her father sat at the head, arms crossed. Her mother stood by the oven, fussing with the same roast that had fed years of rehearsed unity. Madison sat across from her boyfriend Colton, a man whose grin came easy when someone else was footing the bill. "Glad you could make it," Charles said, his tone halfway between command and accusation. Hazel nodded, taking the only empty chair. Madison cleared her throat dramatically. She began, "I've been working on something new, a lifestyle brand, wellness, empowerment, all that. Colton says it's a goldmine." Colton leaned back, fingers laced behind his head. "All she needs," he said, "is a small launch loan. We're talking $150,000. She's got the plan, we've got the drive. Just need someone responsible on paper." Hazel blinked. Responsible on paper, she repeated. You mean me? Liv stepped in before Madison could answer. Honey, it's not like that, we just need your signature. The bank trusts you, Charles added. It's family. You've always been the reliable one. Hazel's heart thudded slow and hard. You want me to co-sign a 6-figure loan for someone who quit her job yesterday? Don't be dramatic, her mother said. You're overreacting. Colton smirked. Come on, Hazel. You're single, no kids, good income. It's not like it'll ruin you. The words hit her like a slap she didn't see coming. Single, no kids, good income. Like all she'd built was just collateral. She set her fork down carefully. The clink sharper than she meant. Do you all hear yourselves? Watch your tone, her father warned. The same way he had when she was 16. Hazel rose from her chair. No. You watch yours. The room froze. You loved me like family, she said quietly, and used me like a bank. Silence filled the kitchen, thicker than steam. Even the clock seemed to stop. Her mother's voice came thin and shaking. After everything we've done for you, what you've done. Hazel's voice stayed level. You've turned my paycheck into your comfort plan. Madison pushed back her chair. You're making me look bad. You did that yourself, Hazel said, turning for the door. And this time I'm not cleaning it up. She walked out without her coat, the cold air cutting against her skin, sharper than any insult behind her. The porch light flickered as she reached her car. Her phone buzzed non-stop, calls, messages, accusations piling faster than snow. By the time she got home, her pulse had slowed, but her mind was alive, sharp, deliberate. She sat at her desk and opened her laptop. The family phone plan was still under her name. Cancel line. Confirm. The electric bill linked to her parents' house. Remove authorization. Car insurance covering Madison's sedan. Unlink user. Each click was a match dropped into a field of dry grass. At 11:42 p.m., a group text came through. Mom, you're destroying this family. Dad, we expect you here tomorrow morning. Madison, you're heartless. Aunt Rose, God doesn't bless those who turn their backs on kin. Hazel read them all, then muted the thread. She wasn't destroying anything, she was just refusing to rebuild what had already burned her. The next morning, her boss called her into a meeting. The Dublin contract. They want you to start next week, he said. They're impressed. You'll oversee a small team, temporary but could become permanent. Hazel felt her chest tighten again, this time not from fear, but release. I'll take it. When she got home that evening, the knock on her door came just as she set her keys down. Firm. Familiar. Her father. Open up, he called. Don't make this worse. Hazel stepped close but didn't touch the lock. It's already worse, she said through the wood. You're embarrassing your mother. No, Dad. I'm just done paying for her peace. A pause, then the sound of footsteps fading, heavy and reluctant. She waited until silence returned, then slid down against the door, laughing once. Not with joy, but with the kind of relief that feels almost holy. Her laptop chimed. A new email. Flight confirmation. Dublin. Monday, 3:45 p.m. For the first time in 15 years, Hazel's next move didn't belong to anyone else. And as she looked around the apartment, small, quiet, paid for by her own hands, she realized the war for control was already ending, not with screams, but with her silence. Because sometimes the loudest revenge is the kind that doesn't ask for permission. The sun hadn't fully risen when Hazel heard the knock again. It was softer this time, polite in tone, but heavy with strategy. She knew that rhythm, her mother's. Hazel opened the door halfway. Liv stood there wrapped in a wool coat, eyes glassy, voice trembling the way manipulators do when they rehearse mercy. Sweetheart, can we talk? Hazel stepped aside, but didn't invite her to sit. The apartment was too small to pretend it wasn't a battleground. Liv walked in, her perfume blending with the faint smell of coffee. You've hurt your sister, she began, hands clasped, eyes searching for guilt. She's been crying non-stop. Hazel kept her tone gentle. She's been crying because the money stopped. That's cruel, Liv whispered. You know she's not strong like you. Hazel smiled faintly. She's strong enough to quit her job and start a company she expects me to fund. Her mother's eyes flicked to the counter, to the neat stack of papers beside Hazel's laptop. Receipts, contracts, proof. What's all this? Records. Hazel said. Every bill, every transfer, every favor I was told not to mention. Liv's face went pale. You kept records of your family? I kept proof of how far love was stretched before it snapped. The older woman's voice broke. You'll regret humiliating us. Hazel shook her head. You did the humiliating. I just stopped pretending it was normal. She walked to the door and held it open. I have a flight Monday. If you came here for more money, I don't have it. If you came to wish me well, I'll take it. Liv hesitated, her face twisted into something between sorrow and calculation. You've changed, she said finally. Hazel met her eyes. That's the point. When the door clicked shut, Hazel leaned against it and exhaled. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't begged. And somehow that quiet control felt louder than every argument she'd ever lost. By afternoon, she was halfway through packing when the first ripple hit. Her phone buzzed with notifications, Facebook tags, long posts written by relatives who hadn't spoken to her in months. When children forget where they came from, some people think money replaces love. Pray for families torn apart by pride. Each line aimed to shame her publicly, but none of it landed. She sat at her desk, opened the same thread, and typed one calm sentence: transparency heals. Then she attached 4 images, screenshots of payment receipts, loan transfers, and her own bank statements. No caption, no rage, just the truth. She didn't check comments. She didn't need to. By evening, Dylan texted, "It's everywhere. People are calling you brave." Hazel just smiled. Bravery wasn't the right word. Boundaries were. 2 days later, as she waited at Logan Airport, her phone rang again, the name flashing across the screen. Dad. She hesitated, then answered.
Hazel.
His voice came rough and weary. Your mother's embarrassed. Your sister's a mess. I don't like what you did.
You don't have to.
She said softly. There was a pause, then quieter. Are you happy? Hazel looked out at the runway, the plane waiting like a door already open. I think I'm learning how. He grunted, a sound between disapproval and reluctant pride. Take care of yourself. I will, she said, and ended the call before he could turn it into another invoice. On the flight to Dublin, she watched the ocean spread below like slate glass. Every mile felt like an eraser stroke across years of servitude. When she landed, the air was colder than she expected. Gray mist curling around the cab windows as she rode into the city. The company apartment was small, bright, and quiet. On the counter, a note from the HR manager. Welcome home. That night, she unpacked one suitcase and brewed tea in a white ceramic mug stamped with the company's logo. She leaned against the window, watching lights ripple over the canal, and realized something: the silence that used to feel like punishment now sounded like peace. Weeks passed. Hazel adjusted to the rhythm, morning walks, new faces, days that ended without anyone asking for rescue. Work flourished. Her first project closed ahead of schedule. Her supervisor, Lawson, handed her a bonus envelope she hadn't expected. You run a tight ship, he said, with a grin. It's rare to find someone this dependable. Hazel smiled. It's easier when no one's drilling holes in the hull. He laughed, not knowing how literal she meant it. Months later, an email came from an unknown address, her sister's. The subject line read, Update. Inside were 3 sentences. I got a job at a boutique downtown, part-time, but it's mine. Mom and Dad are trying. Hope you're doing well. Hazel reread it twice, unsure what she felt. Relief maybe. Or forgiveness's quiet cousin, distance. She didn't reply right away. Instead, she opened the folder labeled Family Ledger and added a final line at the bottom. Debt cleared, emotionally and otherwise. Then she closed the document and deleted it. That Sunday morning, sunlight slipped through the window and caught the steam of her tea. Outside, church bells echoed across the river. Hazel whispered the sentence that had once ended a family dinner and now began her new life. Loved like family, used like a bank. But this time, her voice carried no bitterness. Only balance. Because sometimes revenge isn't about fire or fury. It's about finally walking away, paid in full.